Former PM Malcolm Turnbull hasn't done Australia any favours, you wouldn't think, with comments highly critical of US President Donald Trump. And look, I guess he's coming out and saying what a lot of leaders are thinking, but are too afraid to say. But the timing is not helpful as we try to secure an exemption to American tariffs. It's possible the last thing we need to do is to poke the bear. We know how Donald Trump reacts to that sort of stuff. You've only got to look at that Volodymyr Zelensky exchange, and all bets were off then with Ukraine. Adding to that, a federal Labor government reportedly is set to launch a big spending budget ahead of an election, and off the back of what's happened in Queensland and northern New South Wales, of course, with the economies taking a battering over the last week with the flood and cyclone emergencies. What's it all mean? Where's it all going to end up? Leith Van Onselen is the unconventional economist who joins us once again. Hello, mate. You're obviously nice and dry where you are. You don't have any dramas with cyclones or floods?
No, mate. It's actually, look, I don't want to rub it in, but the weather in Melbourne's been fantastic. It's been sort of low 30s, sunny for days on end. So, yeah, we always tend to get the opposite of what you get up there.
Yeah, I was going to say, you've got a bit of our normal weather. So, yeah, fair enough.
Right.
Can't begrudge you that. Firstly, Trump v Turnbull. Has the former PM thrown the country under a bus here?
Yeah, look, obviously the timing's not great. I think Turnbull's comments were fair. I think that's, as you said in the intro, it's pretty much what most people are thinking. But obviously, yeah, look, the timing's not great, given that these tariffs on steel and aluminium, etc., are supposed to come in on Wednesday, and we're trying to get an exemption. So it's not the greatest timing, although his comments were certainly fair in that, these moves by Trump do risk potential US recession and potential global recession, because we have already seen other countries retaliate. So, for example, China's basically slapped a big tariff on American agricultural exports to China. Canada's done similar things, and it's also Canada's also threatened to stop exporting energy to the US, which will obviously hurt Americans. Americans face the prospect of rising prices because tariffs are basically a tax on goods. As well as American business faces higher cost inputs, because if you slap tariffs on all these things, the cost. If, for example, for those who import, say, Chinese steel, if you import $100 worth of steel, you're going to be paying $125, and if that's an input into your business costs, that's going to raise your costs. It's ultimately going to make you less competitive, and it's going to push the cost on the consumers. So it's not great from that perspective.
Do you think they will head into recession? And do you think the majority of the Americans that voted for Trump will understand what this really means until it hits them?
So certainly, once it starts hitting their hip pocket, I think there's going to be a bit of a pushback. But it could also bring some manufacturing back to the US, so it's not all bad. But the other risk they got is obviously, Elon's got his new Department of Government Efficiency. He wants to slash the hell out of the public service, and I think some of that's justified. I mean, there probably is a lot of bloat and waste, a bit like but if you go too hard, that can also drive you into recession, because it's basically a form of negative stimulus. So you're going to be pulling economic activity out of the country, out of the economy, which obviously slows growth, etc. So they have to be pretty careful with what they're doing, and it seems like it's pretty, it's a little bit ad hoc and aggressive. So that's another recession risk.
Hard to read and imagine how Trump's going to react to this, as I said, poking the bear. How could he respond? I mean, he normally likes to have the upper hand. He likes to be seen as the hero and saving America. So, do you think it's really going to make it difficult moving forward for Australia in general?
Look, I think he's probably made his decision anyway, and I think unlike last time, so we got an exemption the last time he was president, and part of the reason for that is Australia's got a massive trade deficit with the United States. So the United States sells way more stuff to Australia than Australia sells to the United States. So the way that Trump looks at things, he's got what economists call a mercantilist attitude to trade. So basically, if you run a trade surplus with a nation, you're winning. If you run a trade deficit, you're losing. Yep. And he runs a big surplus with us, and he excluded us last time. But I think this time around, he doesn't want to exclude individual countries, because then it opens the door for other countries to be excluded. But it is worth pointing out though, Australia only exported about $1.1 billion of steel and aluminium last year, so it's not. We're talking pretty small numbers in the scheme of the economy. It obviously hurts you if you're a steel or aluminium manufacturer and you export to the US. But from an economy perspective, it's pretty much it's basically small beer. It's only 1.1 billion.
You'd hate it if he turned around and he said, you know what, I was going to give you Australians, I was going to pull the tariff, but from what your PM said, your former PM, it's off. I'm not going to do it now. That'd be a bruise. And he could do that sort of thing.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously he's very outspoken, so there's nothing stopping him from doing that. Whether or not that's actually true, is the point.
Yeah. All right. What about the federal budget? What are we expecting there? It looks like a poll out today suggests that 80% of Australians like the idea of more government handouts. That's alarming, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But I mean, most individual people, vote on the hip pocket, and if they see,
would you like some more money?
Yeah. Even though obviously, we should know that we're actually paying for that through our taxes. But definitely, I can see them extending the energy subsidies and in fact increase them. They'll have to increase them because, unfortunately, as I've said, many times in this program, Australia shot itself in the foot with energy, and we're about to have even higher gas and electricity prices coming because we're soon going to be importing gas on the East Coast. So we've got a whole bunch of gas import terminals coming in towards the end of the year. Once we do that, the gas price is going to rocket up, which means the electricity price is going to rocket on the East Coast, which means that bills are going to go up, and the government will have to try and counteract that through subsidies, which we'll end up paying for through taxes. So I can definitely see a massive splash on energy subsidies, and then obviously, with the Queensland floods, there's an imperative to get some money out there, and they'll use that as an opportunity as well.
Yeah. So do you think as part of that we'll see a lot of election sweeteners and a lot of big spending coming up?
Yeah, I think so, and it's obviously going to be a razor-tight election. So we're looking at a hung parliament. I think that's pretty likely. Basically a replay of the 2010 election.
Yeah.
2010 we had Abbott versus Gillard. Abbott actually got more of the vote, and it was a hung parliament, and Gillard ended up getting in with the support of 3 independents. And I can see a similar scenario whereby neither major party gets the 76 seats they require, and they end up having to, horse trade with the minor parties. And that's the most likely outcome of that is that Labor is returned, because they'll have obviously the Greens in their pocket and probably the Teals. So I think that's the most likely. But obviously, Labor will want to sandbag the electorate before the election, and the easiest way to sandbag it is to throw money at it.
Yeah, and is that confusion and chaos if that's the scenario that we do get? Hung parliament, a minority government?
Right. Yeah, look, certainly it's not great, especially from my own point of view. Like, I'm a bit fed up with this whole massive net zero push that we're doing,
yep.
Basically guaranteeing ourselves more expensive energy. And I think under the minority government with the Greens and the Teals, you're just going to get more of that. And they want to shut down baseload power quicker, the traditional baseload power, and they want to move to highly intermittent and expensive renewables quicker, which means that we'll have more expensive energy.
Yeah. Well, just quickly before I let you go, the impact you think this flood and this cyclone will have on Queensland, New South Wales in terms of state economies?
Yeah, look, it's obviously bad in the short term. So the estimates out there is costing Queensland about $1 billion a day. But look, these things tend to be short term. So obviously, you take a short term hit. It's a bit like a lockdown during the pandemic.
Yep.
Obviously, businesses haven't been trading. You got damage. People haven't been going to school, etc. So your economy's shut down. But what tends to happen after is you get more spending. So, the federal government will pump money into it, and you'll end up with a big growth rebound afterwards as you do the rebuilding. It's obviously not great. You don't want to rebuild stuff that you've lost. It's obviously, but in terms of economic growth, creating jobs, that sort of thing, it'll end up being stimulatory down the track, but you'll take a short-term hit.
Yeah. All right. So good to talk again, mate. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, cheers, Bill. Next time. See you next time.
Leith Van Onselen, the unconventional economist.